If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know.
Yeah.
A fresh, cool young Lou, trying to cash his microphone check 212. Wanna believe my own hype, but it's too untrue. The world brought me to my knees. What have you brung you? Did you improve on the design? Did you do something new? Where your name in on the guest list? Who brung you?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. It is only the beginning of summer, and yet it is already the dog days of summer. It is hot out there, ladies and gentlemen. And it almost doesn't matter where you are. It's hot. Whether it's hot today for you or whether you've been suffering through various levels of heat, you know what I'm talking about. It has been unseasonably warm for the year. And I can just tell you, as somebody who lives in the South, it's scary. It's not scary because it's hot, because that's not something new. We've been dealing with heat in the South for a very long time. Like, heat's not the problem. The issue is when it's hot this early, that means that the weather's on some BS, right? And if the weather's on some BS, you know what that means? Hurricane season is about to be off the meat rack. It's about to be crazy out here, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't want to like drum up bad weather. I'm just saying, get prepared. Be prepared. You know, like how Scar says, be prepared. Be prepared. It's going to be like one of those summers. Like, it's already, it was 90 something degrees. Well, it's 90 something degrees today. And my phone tells me, yeah, it's 90 something degrees today, but with the humidity, makes it feel like 103. 100, what? Huh? To combat that, you know, we try to go and practice early. We practice at 6 a.m. to try to get out before the heat. But not everybody thinks like that. So when we have events where we got to go and, you know, work with other teams or get some other work in, 7-on-7s, OTAs, we're out there in the heat. And I'm telling you, none of it makes sense to me. You know why? Because in high school football, you never play football at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. It makes perfect sense for college, right? Makes perfect sense for college because in college, right? In college, unless you are, I don't know, like somebody that's playing most of their games on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, like trying to get into the prime time, you know, purview, most of your games are going to be at 1 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Eastern time, right? But in high school football, your games are never at 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock. They're always at 7 o'clock, 7:30. If for some reason there's a doubleheader at the place that you're playing, maybe 6:30. Like, that's the lowest you get. But you don't get this 1 o'clock p.m. heat. You don't get this. You don't even get the 4 o'clock p.m. heat. So, like, it's just one of those things that as a coach, I've always thought about and went, there's no real way to recreate when you play the game because of school, right? Because of school, there's no way to practice consistently in the condition that you're going to play a game in, because that condition isn't available to you. You can't wait until 7 o'clock to start practicing. Not football. Some places you don't even have lights, right? And if you do have lights, Try running those lights every single night and find out what your district or your school principal or athletic director thinks about your electric bill skyrocketing because you are running the lights for 3 hours a night. And heaven forbid you forget to turn them off or don't have them on a timer. Like, that's a thing, right? That's a thing. So there's no way to really recreate it. I see that some places they'll practice in the morning, right? You'll practice early in the morning. You know, you get a little bit dark, you can turn the lights on and turn the lights off. Like, I see that happen on Thursdays, pregame early in the morning. I see that. It makes sense and I like it. Still doesn't give you the same condition because the morning is usually the coolest it's going to be. Remember, it had all night to cool off. Whereas the 7 p.m. is still getting the residuals of the day's heat. Hasn't had a chance to cool off yet. Just some things I always think about as a coach, as a player when I was playing. We don't practice in the conditions we're in. Never really made sense to me. And now I try to figure out ways to, help that along. But it's difficult because those don't exist, right? I was having a conversation with someone and the conversation came up where people were talking about having a backup plan. Having a backup plan. And the new wave is for people to say, well, I never had a backup plan. You ever notice that the only people you ever hear I didn't have a backup plan from is the people where the plan worked? Right? And in an honest moment, we don't even know if that was the original plan. We just take them for face value. Hey, if you weren't doing this with your life, well, what would you have done? Well, I didn't have a backup plan. I was all in on this. I want y'all to just recognize, right? And this is not me criticizing people who say they don't have a backup plan. If you want to say you don't have a backup plan, cool. If you really legitimately don't want to have a backup plan, here's what I would tell you. What's the harm in having a backup plan? Because I think the original philosophy was that if you had a backup plan, that you weren't fully dedicated to doing what was necessary for the original plan, right? Here's the problem. There's a lot of hours in the day, and only so many of them you can spend doing whatever the plan A is. There's only so many hours in the day, and you can only spend so many hours doing plan A before your brain just it's ineffective, right? You gotta let the brain reset. You gotta give the brain other stimuli, or else it's frazzled, right? It's fractured. It's not going to work the way it's supposed to work. So when I hear people say that, I just go, well, what do you do with the rest of your day? Hey, I'm a basketball player, right? So one of the things that I constantly talk about, and I constantly question is the idea of specialization, right? A lot of, especially in basketball, like basketball let me take that back. Basketball, now with the stick and ball sports of baseball and softball and soccer and hockey, right? Of the major team sports. I'm not even going to talk about the individual sports because those are what they are. But it used to be that basketball players played other sports. A lot of them did other things outside of the guys who were so tall that they kind of grew themselves out of other sports. The rest of them They played multiple sports. And some of them were even super tall playing other sports. You don't see it as much anymore. Now you've got people who are 100% dedicated to basketball. There's a young man who plays basketball. Actually, it's not one young man. There's a bunch of young men. But I'm thinking in my head, I've got one young man. And he's a really good basketball player. But he has the body of a football player. It's about, 6'1", maybe 6'2", like well put together, 185, 190 pounds. Like he is quintessential football body. You could put him at multiple positions. He could be a safety. He could be a wide receiver. He could be a cornerback. He could be an outside linebacker. He could be an inside linebacker. He could be a DN. He could be an H-back. He could be a running back, right? Like there's slot receiver. There's so many different positions that a 6'1", 190-pound frame could either grow into, right? So I say that because he's a really good basketball player. But how many 6'1", 190-pound Division I basketball players do we see? Not very many. How many 6'1", 190-pound football players do we see? They're all over the place. They're everywhere. You can't get beyond them. Why do I mention it? Because you can't play basketball. You can't play basketball 24 hours a day. And even if you're a basketball player and that's what you believe you are, you still should be cross-training, doing something to get your body uncomfortable so that it will continue to build for basketball. If you only train those muscles and never anything else but those muscles, then the other muscles suffer, right? And those muscles plateau. That is just normal, right? If you keep working the skill over and over and over again, and you never learn other skills, that skill will plateau because your brain will just shut off. It'll just become automatic, right? So what would be the harm in a basketball player playing football with an understanding that they're a basketball player? Hey, coach, I want to play football because I want to develop more toughness, physicality. I want to get more into weight training because let's be real about it. A lot of these basketball programs not weight training at the level that the football programs are. And before you say it's a different type of lifting, stop it. Most football lifting is based off of explosion. That is ding, ding, ding basketball all day. You're talking to somebody who was a basketball and football guy, right? Basketball, football, track. I thought I was a basketball player. Still do. In my brain, when I dream, when I wake up, if someone asks me what I was, I'm a hooper. Anybody who knows me well enough knows I think I'm a hooper. I didn't go to college for basketball first. I went to college for football, played basketball because my number one thing was basketball. My number one thing was basketball. My backup was football. My backup was academics. My backup was the arts. My backup was journalism. I didn't have one thing that I was working in the background to build while I was trying to be the best basketball player I could be. I had several things that I was building at that time. You know why? Because there's a lot of hours in the day, and I don't sleep as much as most people do. And so I use that time, right? When I would wake up in the morning, grab the ball, go outside, get up several hundred shots, play basketball in the heat, put the basketball down, go to football practice, football lifting, workouts on the field, leave football, go home, grab the basketball, go to the court, play basketball until the sun was down, until the night, until somebody told me I needed to have my ASS home. I would be on the performance group doing shows during the day. I started writing draft analysis when I was a kid. I had a spiral notebook that I would write down all of the draft picks in the orders when I was a kid, not when I was a teenager, when I was a kid. I remember those things. I was always a prolific writer. Because what else are you going to do in school? You can't play basketball while you're in class. You might as well actually learn something. So what's the harm in having the back burner? What's the harm in having the plan B? Hey, my guy, you got to go to college anyway. If you want to play football, you got to go to college. If you want to play basketball, you don't necessarily have to go to college if you're that good. But how many 6'1", 195, 190 pound guys do you see just skipping over college and going to the professional ranks? Name one. Name one. So you might as well have something on the back burner. Why? Because you got to use that time anyway. Anybody that's telling you I'm spending 12 hours a day on getting up shots, I'm spending 12 hours a day on my ball handling, I'm spending 12 hours a day. You know what they never say I'm spending 12 hours a day on? Playing better defense. That's why you see so many of these kids who are really good offensive players but undersized not get looks. You know why? Because they can't lock up. They're getting by off athleticism on defense. But when all the athleticism is equal, guess what? You can't get by. I was locking people up. I'm not saying it because I'm trying to pat myself on the back. I wasn't the best offensive player. But you know what travels a lot better than the ability to get a bucket? The ability to keep the ball out the bucket. I guarantee you that your ability to keep the ball out the rim will be noticed faster than your ability to put the ball in the rim. Why? Because a lot of people can score. Not a lot of people can play defense. A lot of guys, a lot of girls can score. Not a lot of people can play defense. So when people tell me, oh, well, or when I hear people say on podcasts or on shows or giving speeches, I didn't have a plan B. It was this or bust. Did it work for everybody? No, because we never hear from the people who, quote unquote, never had a plan B when the plan A didn't work. You know why? They're too busy backing the plan B. The plan B is not an option. The plan B is what happens when the plan A don't work. So you can say there's no plan B, but the truth is there's always a plan B. You think the music engineer grew up and said, I just want to mix music? I just want to mix the music. I don't want to make music. I don't want to create. I just want to mix. No. The engineer was likely somebody who produces music. And as they learn the tools of the trade, as they figure out that the sound quality matters as much as the type of music that you make, they get so good at it that people start to hire them to mix their music. Hey, you ever had somebody, maybe this happens now, but you ever had somebody that just knows how to make a playlist? They just know how to make a playlist. There's a job for that. The ability to curate a playlist is a job. You think the people like wake up and go, I want to curate playlists for a living? You think people wake up and go, yo, I just want to put songs together in a list so that people will listen to them for a living? No. There's a bigger goal. And when that goal doesn't happen, hey, let's resort back down to this. We don't always have to sound supremely confident about things. We don't always have to sound as if we had it all figured out and that this was it. We don't have to sound as if there's no fear in this. Fear, right? Fear is the great motivator. If there's no fear of not achieving, then how many people are really motivated to achieve? If you know that it's out there, if you know that you can obtain it and it ain't hard, then what's the motivation to obtain it? What's the motivation to obtain it? Hey, in relationships, right? Guys, if there's a young lady out there and you know she vibing with you, you know she loving you, you ain't got to do nothing. How much effort are you putting in to obtaining it, to going out? Why people say we love the chase? It's not just the loving of the chase. It's the idea that might not be a winner. Like, I might not be able to have this woman. I may not be able to pull her. It's that level of unknown. It's that level of fear, of trepidation, if you don't like the word fear, of anxiety that comes with it that makes us want to pursue it. Why is it that your heart rate doesn't go up when you're calm? When everything is cool? Why is it when you're anxious, your heart rate goes up? Why is it when you're nervous, your heart rate goes up? Why is it when you're afraid, your heart rate goes up? It's because we have the opportunity to fail. There is a probability of failure. And because of that probability of failure, it pushes us to do more. It pushes us to go beyond. We cowered ourselves out of our blessings as athletes, as sports people, because we are not afraid to fail. See, y'all think that saying, oh, I've got no backup plan, is not being afraid to fail. No. Who said that your backup plan had to be so much different than your original plan? Who said that your backup plan had to be something that took you so far away from the original plan? Hey, you may not be able to go to the NBA, but you know what you can be? A billion other things that have to do with basketball. You could be a coach. You could be a trainer. You could be in sports medicine. You could be in sports media. Talk about basketball. You could be somebody who diagrams, looks at it. I know a young man who I used to coach at the Vanguard School. Shout out to the Vanguard School, Mikey Garcia. He was a basketball player. He was a good little basketball player too. But he's short. He ain't never gonna be a pro. He ain't never gonna be a dude. Played high school, may have gone on and played somewhere after high school. I'm not sure. I was gone from the school by the time he was a senior and ready to go, right? But you know what he does today? Today he trains. And he puts on camps and clinics, and it's taking him all over the place. And he hasn't scored one basket in the NBA. He's probably been responsible for others making it to the professional ranks, making it to a higher level than he has. Does that mean that he never had a backup plan? Because I 100% guarantee you his original dream was not to be a trainer. I 100% guarantee you that his dream was not to be the one on the sideline watching somebody else do it. Everybody that says, man, I always wanted to be a coach, they're lying. They're lying. And I'm not even saying it's a big lie. I'm not saying it's big cap. I'm saying that everybody that played the game, that coached the game, originally got involved and loved the game. They pictured themselves on the field, on the court, on the pitch, on the track. They did not like picture themselves on the sideline. I love coaching. I don't want to play. But that doesn't mean at one particular time I wasn't thinking about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 buzzer beater. We have to start being honest with ourselves. The backup plan is the plan that's there because the original plan didn't work. And for most of us, the original plan does not work. Why? Because life happens. Or because you're short. Or because you clumsy. Or because you slow. Or because you don't have hands. Or because your body's brittle. So what's the harm in having the backup when you know without a doubt that you've done everything you can to put yourself in position to do A? What's wrong with playing football when you're an undersized basketball player trying to go to Division I? If you go to Division I, guess what? You don't need to do anymore. You don't need to play football. But what if you don't? You love basketball enough to turn down a Division I football offer to go play basketball at a D2, at an NAIA, where you're going to pay money? You're going to turn down a scholarship at a D2 football to go play JUCO or club or postgraduate basketball? What are you willing to sacrifice when the plan B opens up the door that the plan A never opens up? Hey, yo, I want to have this. 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 My plan A is going to get me there. Okay, plan A ain't working. There's a backup plan, but the backup plan has opened up a door for you to get all of the things that you wanted to get with plan A. You telling me you care about which one you do? Yo, I don't want that nice car and that house and to be able to take them trips, because that's me doing something that's not plan A. That's coming from something that wasn't plan A. Really? Financial freedom would allow you to go back and do plan A. If plan A is just for the love, if it's just for the love, you could do plan B and back to plan A. Never any issues. for the entirety of my adult life, I have taught, I have coached, and I have worked in media. Since 2004, when I graduated, I have taught, I have coached, and I have worked in some kind of media. Shout out to the Bridgeton News. Shout out to the Bridgeton News. First place I was writing. I went to him. I said, hey, I would like to write. I was teaching. I was coaching football, helping out with basketball. I said, hey, I like to write. I started doing music reviews. There was a local bar that had bands that would come. And I had a deal that every time with the bar, that every time I got a story in the Bridgeton News, they would pay me. So I got paid from them and paid from the Bridgeton News. That was my first understanding that I could do this on the side while still doing this. You think teaching was plan A? You think teaching was plan A? You don't think I would love to have gone and coached and that's all I did? I tried. Politics, stupid stuff that got nothing to do with football got in the way. I did a graduate assistant. I coached and I taught for a few years. I took a graduate assistant job making no money. I made, all right, no money is a stretch. I made $4,000 a year. You do the math. It's no money. I made $4,000. They gave me room and they gave me a meal plan that only worked when there was school. $4,000 that I got paid. I got paid that $4,000 in total, split up into monthly increments, right? So every month I would get a check for a few $100s. Meal plan, room and board. Meanwhile, I am working like a full-time football coach. 80 hours, 90 hours a week. I'm the video coordinator. And I'm the tight ends one year, defensive line coach the next year. So every time we need a film exchange, this is before huddle. I gotta burn the film off in real time, grab the tapes, put them in my car, drive hours, not like 1 hour or 2 hours. These are colleges. Drive hours from Ohio to Indiana to Pennsylvania to do video exchanges. Then drive back, break down the film, and have it all done before Sunday, when they're trying to get ready for the next game. Right? That was the world. I did that for 2 years. I had double-digit interviews at places. I had coaches telling me, hey, coach, you did a really, really great job, man. I'd love to hire you, but I know you're not going to be here very long. This ain't a great paying job. We're looking for somebody that's going to be local, that wants to be here long term. Hey, coach, you did a great job, but I got a guy who just got fired from over here. He's my boy. I got to make sure he has a landing spot. Hey, coach, you did a good job, but we're looking for somebody that has a little bit of this. Meanwhile, and this is just luck. This is luck of the draw, right? I saw guys go from graduate assistant to restricted earnings coach, and then the head coach leaves and the offensive coordinator gets the head coaching job, and they go from the restricted earnings coach job to the position coach, and then the offensive coordinator that was going to take over decides to go with the head coach, and they go all the way from a restricted earnings coach to the coordinator. But they're not really the coordinator. The new head coach is really the coordinator, but they're the head coordinator in name. 2 years later, they're off and they got another offensive coordinator job. A couple years later, they got a head coaching job. I watched the guy go from a graduate assistant to then go to another school as a graduate assistant. A offensive coordinator from Auburn takes over the job at the school that he's a graduate assistant at. Couple of years, they fire the Auburn coach. He goes back to Auburn as the head coach, takes the entire staff with him. He just made the move from a nobody thinking about FCS school to a Division I SEC school. He's been in the SEC ever since. Do I think he knows more football than I do? No. Sometimes the breaks just happen for you. They didn't happen for me. And I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to live, continue to be broke. I didn't have a girlfriend who was paying for me, which a lot of coaches do. I didn't have a mother and dad that were able to supplement my income, which a lot of coaches do. And I didn't get lucky. So I was out. I had to go back to teaching, back to coaching in high school, making a real legitimate living wage. The entire time, by the way, the entire time I was in college coaching, guess what I did on the side? You're right. I wrote for the local newspaper, covered high school sports, string work. That's what they used to call them, stringers back then. They're called freelancers now, but they were stringers back then. I did string work for the Urbana Daily Citizen. Right? Football games, basketball games, got paid like $35, $40 a piece. That helped supplement that little bit of money that I was paying. I was getting paid though. Right? Life is this, man. Did I ever slack off on my job as a head coach? Did I ever slack off on my job in college as a college coach because I was writing about high school sports? No, I was double dipping. I would go to the schools where I was recruiting players at, watch them, and write up the game. Just because you have a back burner doesn't mean that the front burner's not hot. And now today, I am more in the media space to the point where I have called a college football game at the Division I level, but never coached a college football game at the Division I level. I've done more in media at the Division I level, at the professional level, than I ever did as a coach at the Division I level or the professional level. Why? Was it because I didn't work hard enough? Is it because I wasn't all in on the coaching? I've dedicated all of my adult life to teaching, to coaching, to media. Why? Because there's more hours in the day than just one or two. And because there's more hours in the day than just one or two, I can afford to give my energy to multiple places and still put in quality work. And if our young kids understood that, because our old adults that act like kids told them that, then we wouldn't have so many young men and young women missing out on their blessings. I'm watching these young ladies in track and field. I'm watching them do fantastic things. And you know what I'm saying in my head? Oh, she could do this. Oh, she could do that. You know who I'm talking about? All of these young ladies that I've seen work. I've seen them work, but they're so fixated on, I'm going to be a volleyball player. I'm going to be a basketball player. I'm going to be a softball player. They hone in on the one thing and they don't get off of it. And then when that doesn't happen, the dreams are dead. Meanwhile, track and field's been sitting here the entire time. Sitting there the entire time. Two basketball players this past year, in the city of Savannah, had the potential to jump 6'10" without any type of real legitimate coaching. Without any type of just like honing in and focusing on that craft. And they had 6'10" ability. There was another kid in Savannah with the same 6'10" ability. He went to a Division I school. Them two, they did not. Why? Because they were trying to be basketball players. Because they were hell-bent on being basketball players to the point that they were willing to miss and not give any type of effort to the track. Even though they're not even the same seasons and they were seniors and they were done. This is what I'm telling you guys about when people tell you there is no plan B. Ask them, yo, did you really not have a plan B? Is your plan B just so fly? Did your plan B just turn out so fly that now you consider it your plan A? Or just say cap. Because everybody had, by nature, we never know the one thing we just want to do and nothing else. Everybody has multiple things that they want to do, even if it's within the same genre. Like I said, the backup doesn't have to be far from the original. But we have to do it. And once we get out our own way, we'll see more people have success. When I come back, we'll be talking about the USA track and field trials. It's been some great work so far. This is Talk Spicy on the Riptide. Well, not Riptide, excuse me. This is Talk Spicy. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, Your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Make sure that you follow me wherever you follow, X and Instagram and all the places at Gene Clemens. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel at Coach Gene Clemens. I really do appreciate it. We're trying to keep these numbers going up, as we start to get into football season. It's going to be a very, very awesome football year. I have a lot of things going on. I definitely will be busy. Let's just say that a lot of those back burners are burning, right? A lot of those back burners will be burning this football season, as they are always. But I like the trajectory. I like where we are, and I want to continue to grow and continue to be the guy that gives it to you hot, and never gives you some canned BS excuse. I want to give you my real legitimate thoughts based off of a guy that's been in sports and in love with sports ever since he was a little kid. One of the sports I absolutely adore is track and field, and the U.S. track and field Olympic trials have been going on, and it's been fantastic to watch, right? Shout out. I've been doing a lot of watching of the heptathlon and the decathlon. I watched as those guys and girls navigated all of those events. And I keep just going back to, why is there no high school equivalent? Like in high schools. I'm sure that in the AAU or the travel scene, the club teams, that you probably have some type of heptathlon, decathlon program, but why not in the high schools? I keep looking at some of these high school athletes, and I'm like, okay, that's a heptathlete. I'm like, oh, that's a decathlete. There was a young man who ran track. He did the 400. He did the hurdles, the 110 hurdles, the 300 hurdles. He did the long jump or the triple jump. Like, how much more difficult would it be for him to do the high jump? He works hard when he works. So how much more difficult would it be for him to learn how to do the shot put and the discus? The only thing that would be really, really difficult for him would be the pole vault. And even with that, because he's fearless, he's a football player, he's going to be willing to give it a go. I saw this young lady who fast, 100 meter, 200 meter, run the 400. She can jump. She's a strong, well-built athlete. How much more difficult would it be for her to learn the javelin and to learn the shot put? You know what I'm saying? Like it's not too far-fetched. And I don't know why there's not an opportunity for high school kids to do that during the high school season. Like I said, I'm sure there's opportunities for them to do it outside of it, but during the high school season, why isn't there something that allows them, even if it's not all the events, you know what I'm saying? It could be a modified, just a multi-event, like some type of multi-event platform that they can get their feet wet and understand, oh no, this could be an option for me. I think that'd be fly. I might have to come up with it. If I can find time to do all the things that I try to do in a day, then that'll be the next thing I try. But I was watching, and it was interesting because the men's 100-meter was last night. And while watching the 100 meters unfold, I recognized that the three guys who won the 100 meters, they were all guys who specialized in a discipline that was longer than the 100 meters before they really got good at the 100 meters. Right? Noah Lyles won. And Noah Lyles was notoriously a horrible 100-meter guy, like really, really bad. And if you remember, and he talks about it in 2021, he was next to last. And now he's a two-time, like he won the world championships last year. And then this year, he's won the U.S. trials, and he's on his way to the Olympics, and he's going to be the favorite. Because anybody that comes from the United States right now is going to be the favorite. Kenny Bednarik was another guy who was more successful in the 200. Never on a 100-meter team, right? Always 200 meters. And now he comes in second. Not that far behind. I mean, far enough in track, but not that far behind. Third, Fred Curley. Fred Curley was a guy who was a 400-meter bronze medalist who came all the way down to the 100, and people said, you crazy, because he was a 2-4 guy. And he came down to the 100, said, I ain't running the 400 no more. He won the world championships the year before Noah Lyles won it. And now he's back. But Christian Coleman, who is a 100-meter specialist, never seems to get it done. Right? Trayvon Bromell, 100-meter specialist, never seemed to get it done. And it got me thinking, wow, well, what's the difference between guys who specialize in the 100 and guys who specialize in the 200 and 400? It's strength. It's endurance. Right? Because Christian Coleman is maybe the greatest 60-meter runner ever. He might be the greatest 60-meter runner ever. But nobody runs 60 meters outdoors. And so when he's getting to the line, he's decelerating because he's only ever legitimately trained to be a 100-meter runner. When Noah Lyles and Kenny Bednarik and Fred Curley, when they hit the line on the 100, they're at max velocity. Why? Because they're used to having to hold that for another whole 100 meters. That makes a difference. Am I shocked that the Jamaican women who've all had success in the 100, a lot of them had a lot of 200 success as well? Sha'Carri Richardson, 100-meter champion. Also, I believe silver or bronze medal in the 200 meters. It's so many. When I start looking back, right? Carl Lewis was a 1-2 guy. He wasn't just out there for the 2. He was really, really good at the 2. Usain Bolt, the greatest ever, started as a 400-meter guy. Came down to the 1. Well, guess what never goes away? That level of power that comes when you're a 400 runner. Why is Why are people like a thing Mo so good in the 400, even though she don't even run the 400? Because her 800 power is such that 800 stamina is such that when she comes down to the 400, she can run it in a way that almost nobody else can run it except for, right? Except for those hurdlers. Femke Bol coming down, not coming down, but going from the 400 hurdles to the 400 flat. Of course, she's going to be super fast. Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone going from the 400 hurdles to the 200, smoking people, 400, smoking people. Why? Because they've built up that callus. They're able to sustain the speed longer. I said, hey, if you're a young kid trying to be a track athlete, thinking about being a track athlete, if you want to get better, if you want to be better at the 100, then you can't sit around and just try to do 100-meter workouts. You can't sit around and just try to be a 100-meter specialist. That's not going to work. Right? That's not going to work. You're not going to reap the benefits unless it goes back to the hard, right? Unless you are willing to make yourself uncomfortable in that 200 and fight to be the fastest you can be in that 200, because that's going to make you a better 100-meter runner. It's that simple. There was a young man who was on the track team here. I watched him as he jogged the first 80 meters of the 200 and then sprinted and caught people from behind. He wouldn't take first a lot of times. He would take third. And I'm trying to figure out why his coach is just allowing him to do this. Because in the 100, he's so good, right? But is he so good? Is a 10.6 in the 100 so good? Even in high school nowadays, depending upon where you are, it's fast. You're gonna win a lot. But they're not giving out scholarships to major universities for 10.6s. Not at all. Especially if you're running a 10.6 in 100, then you're running a 24 in the 200 because you don't run it hard. So the opportunity to get better means you got to work harder. It means you got to grind harder. The ones who are grinding harder, the ones who are working harder, those are the ones who are reaping the benefits. And now Christian Coleman is left to ask himself some questions. Right? Because his Olympic dreams might be over as far as an individual competition goes, right? As far as individual competition goes, Christian Coleman might be finished. Might be. He's 28 years old. His birthday is March 6th. And by the way, shout out to March 6th because his birthday is the same day as mine. But he's 28 years old. Which means that in 4 more years, because it'll be 4 years and not 3, in 4 more years, he'll be 32. Noah Lyles will be 30. Kenny Bednarik will be 29. Fred Curley will be 33. So all of those same guys, they're still going to be there. They're still going to be running their programs. So what is Christian Coleman going to be able to do from now until then that's going to help him become something that he hasn't been able to do? He was a 2019 world champion, and right after that, he got suspended. PED suspension. He didn't get busted for the PEDs. He just didn't show up to be tested. You know what that means. We don't have to sugarcoat it. If I don't show up, right, to the test, that means that I'm I'm probably cheating. I'm probably cheating. I'm probably doing something I ain't got no business doing, especially because I'm a professional and I know that this is a part of my life. So he already missed out on a chunk. What do you do to get better? I contend Christian Coleman's got to scrap his entire thought process. Hey, man, no more hundreds. No more 60s in the indoors. It's 200s. It's 400s. I got to build up the callus that I haven't built up before so that I can do something that I've never been able to do. Not consistently. That 2019 World Championship to me has an asterisk next to it. Because right after it, you get popped for PEDs. And again, this ain't no shade. He did his time. He back. He's clean because he's in the program, right? Ain't no shade. But what does the 100-meter champion, what does the 100-meter guy do when the 200 and 400-meter guys are the ones who are taking all the trophies? Who are doing the things that make them undeniable. Right? I'm still bummed. I'm still bummed that Sydney McLaughlin isn't doing the double. They set up a program, right? The 400 has already been taken care of. And shout out to all the ladies that made the 400 who made the 400 Olympic team. But it's already been done. The hurdles don't get started until Thursday. So Sydney McLaughlin is so much better at the 400 than everybody else that she could go 90%. She could do a training run and get through the first couple of or all of the qualifying. Then she could go out and run a decent time for her and smoke everybody. She's that much better than everybody else in the 400. She could have did that. Then she is so much better than everybody else in the hurdles. She could have did the same thing in the hurdles, and she could be working on an unprecedented double. Now, I don't know if it works out in Paris, and maybe it doesn't, and that's why she didn't do it. But why not just do it to claim both as the American champion? If you drop out of one, they'll just take the next girl. It's not like you lose a spot. They just take the next girl. Just like they did when they did that BS to Sha'Carri Richardson when supposedly she got popped for a performance enhancer, which was marijuana. I think it wasn't a performance enhancer. I think it was just an illegal substance. Right? They just elevated everybody else. They could do that again. I would have loved to see her do it. You want to know why? Because I love to see people do things that are hard. I love to see people compete. Shamir Little tried it with the 400. She got to the final. She came up a little short, but you know what she is? She's in the pool. That 4x400 pool. She's in the pool. I would take a Shamir Little, put her on a mixed relay. I would take a Shamir Little, put her on a 4x4. Hell yeah. It's been great. We're getting an opportunity to see a Thing Mo run. We're getting a chance to see a Thing Mo run. It's the first time she's run in a very long time. She looks like it. I hope that she's ready because youth is so many times wasted on the young. And the one thing that Sydney McLaughlin has figured out that a Thing Mo maybe hasn't figured out yet is how to balance it enough to where you're always ready when it's time to be ready. Right? Balance it out just enough to where you're always ready when it's time to be ready. She's so young. She has so much time. I don't know why she's not running more 400s like Sydney McLaughlin is running 400s. because she actually has 400 pedigree. She's the national champion in the 400. She ran the 400 and the 800 and won both of them, and did the 4x4 for Texas A&M. Then went out and qualified as the 800-meter champion in the U.S. and in the Olympics, and ran the 4x4. Then ran it back in the World Championships at Eugene. Then came out the next year for the World Championships, took third, came back to the Prefontaine or whatever it was, I think at that time, the Diamond League championship, came back and set the American record. Then we haven't seen her. She's been gone. Nothing. Youth is so often wasted on the young. You'll never have these opportunities because you'll never have this body again. And I want to see these young ladies do some fantastic things. I want to see them do some unprecedented things. Why? Because I like seeing people do things that are hard. That's it. Right? I think when I see people do things that are hard, it takes me to 16-year-old Quincy Wilson. Bullis High School in DC. 16 years old. In back-to-back days, he has broken the under 18 record in back-to-back days. He's run so well that he is in the final. For the U.S. Olympic trials, which means, because he's in the final, that he's going to the Olympics, because all of the finalists are normally in the pool for the 4x400. Because remember, you not only have to have the 4x4, you also have to have the 4x4 mixed, or the mixed 4x4. Like, this young man is doing something that is hard. He ran an entire high school season. Then he's been to all of the under blah, blah, blahs and the youth blah, blah, blahs and he's still going. The amount of races on his legs, he looks like a kid out there. When you see all these grown men flying around him and you see that he still looks like a kid out there, it's fly. And actually, I think Bullis is Maryland. It might not be DC. Like, it's fly to watch. Unreal when you see young men, young women do that type of stuff. Right? Shout out to the youngin in the 100 meters from Florida. He got into the finals and he ain't come in last. So guess what he's doing? He's going most likely to the Olympics. Yo, like, watching people do things hard has always been intoxicating to me. Watching people do things that other people don't think they can do. There was so much hate on that young man. People talking about he won't make it out the first round. People talking about he got to go against grown men. Like they don't remember when Sidney McLaughlin was 17 years old and in the Olympics. Like, people don't remember when Allison Felix was a teenager in the Olympics. This ain't something new. The special ones, the prodigies, they do things that are hard. I love it. It gets me fired up. It makes me think, what am I not doing that I should be doing if he's doing that at 16? Right? It's a constant reminder that as much as you think you're achieving, you could be achieving more. as much as you think you are like getting it done, there's more you can do. I think it's phenomenal. I continue to watch like Anna Hall in the heptathlon, right? Coming off the knee injury after she had her best performance ever in the heptathlon, having to miss worlds, having to get surgery, not knowing if she's going to be back, but continuing to work. And now she's back and she's going to make the Olympics, barring her falling and not being able to get up in the 800. She's going to make the Olympic team, which is going to then give her another month and some change to get her body even better to be able to make a run at an Olympic title. But she's young, so she ain't done. It ain't no hate. You want to know her biggest fan? The legend, Jackie Joyner-Kersee. The woman that she is most likely trying to chase her record down, that is the person who is her biggest cheerleader. Because the great ones don't got hate in their blood. They know that they've held the mantle for so long. There's got to be somebody else that's worthy to take on the challenge. You want to know why Jordan hates on so many? It's because he don't think that there's a bunch of people out there worthy. He thought Kobe was worthy. I know he thinks LeBron is worthy, but maybe not. I find it awesome. I find it awesome. I find it refreshing, right? Because we don't often see that level. We don't often get a chance to see that level. So when we do get a chance to see that level, you know, I mean, it's great, right? It's great. The United States swimming trials, the swimming Olympic trials are going on as well. Shout out to Simone Manuel, right? She won the 50 free once again. I remember times watching swimming where I did not see one black person. I did not see one person of color, right? And when you look at the U.S. swim team, even today, ain't no brothers and sisters out there except Simone Manuel. There's a gentleman out there too. I don't know his name. There's one black dude out there. But she has been the standard, right? She's been the standard. And shout out to there was a gentleman for years, and you can put it in the comments. I don't remember his name right now, but it'll come back to me. There was a gentleman who made it a couple times that was black, but for the most part, we don't see black faces. So for her to have the run that she's had, for her to be relevant in multiple Olympics, right? It says a lot, man. It means a lot. It means a lot. And if you don't think it means a lot, then that's cool. It just means you don't really particularly care. And that's fine. Right? That's fine. I'm going to take a break, but before I take a break, I want to show you something because I thought this was phenomenal, right? Somebody showed hold on, let me pull it up for you. Somebody showed Michael Phelps a video, right? And it was, I believe it was an Australian swimmer who was complaining about the United States. And when I tell you that, like, this stuff doesn't leave your blood, like, if you're a competitor, you're just a competitor. That is who you are. Like, I want y'all to watch this. If you're watching, I want you to listen to it. If you're listening to it, I want you to listen to how Michael Phelps sounds. And I want you to know this is how I want my athletes to be. This is Michael Phelps responding to a video.
I'm just going to ask you to see this, how you might have used it if this was said back when you were swimming.
But it is just so much sweeter beating America. Yeah. There were a couple of nights, particularly the first night of competition, where we did not have to hear Star Spangled Banner ring out through the stadium. And I cannot tell you how happy that made me. When we're like right next to each other in the warm-up areas, the US have this like infernal cowbell that they ring. And as someone leaves to go to the competition pool, they ring out, USA, USA. And I've never wanted to punch someone more.
Wow.
Have you seen that?
No, but I appreciate your comments, Kate. Somebody said that to me, I would lose it. I would literally make them eat every word they just said about me. Because people have done it. Chad Leclos, Thorpe, you guys have all talked about me. And I had the last laugh. So for the Americans, if you see what I just saw, that's the first time I saw it. I would watch that thing every single day to give me that little extra bit of just oomph. Oh, I mean, that's awesome. Well, the good news is the Olympics will be here shortly and we'll be able to see what the results are.
Hey, yo, ladies and gentlemen, that is a dude who would slap an Australian person right now. Like right now, he would just go up to an Australian swimmer and just slap him right now. And I don't condone violence, but the audacity to put that out there and to think that Americans are not going to look at that. Hey, not for nothing, this might be one of the strongest, with no Michael Phelps, this might be one of the strongest teams that the U.S. has put together in a long time. And the women are really, really strong. The women are really, really strong. I don't even know who that is, but she better be fast. She better be fast. Because if not only are they getting beat, but they gonna hear USA chants and cowbells till the cows come home. We don't care that it's in Paris. I like that out of Michael Phelps is never swimming another competitive race ever again. And he looked like he wanted to jump in the water right now. That's what I want out of my athletes. That's what I want out of people when they represent me. That's who I want out there saying, hey man, you ain't gonna talk about us like this. He was mad for the other people who got a race. He don't even got a race. I love it. That's what I like to see in athletics. That's what we all need to see, especially come Olympics time. And when we come back, we'll have more on Talk Spicy.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me. Make sure that you go in and holler at the Bleacher Brothers. Follow their YouTube channel. It's exploding right now. Make sure you go and follow the Football Game Plan YouTube channel, the Facebook page. Make sure you follow me on Facebook page as well. Coach Gene Clemens. Hey, I told y'all, right? I told you guys that the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark rivalry was a real thing. I told you guys that they were the magic bird combination, right? I think a lot of people, thought it was cap. They thought it was, made up. But if you look at the way in which they're discussed together, you can see that the lines have been drawn. You can tell where the lines have been drawn. You can tell the people who are trying to stay as neutral as possible, but maybe starting to lean one way or another, right? They're letting their bias show a little bit. Let me be the first to tell you, I am biased. But I am calling this thing as down the middle as I can. But I am biased. Right? I'm okay with I'm okay with the fact that somebody might say, hey, you're not looking at this objectively because you're an Angel Reese fan. You're right. Except I like Caitlin Clark too. My problem with Caitlin Clark is that people go so OD to praise her that it makes me go to the other side to try to reel them in, and it makes it seem like I don't like her. This happens in football all the time, right? This happens in football all the time. You'll see, do I think that Justin Herbert is a bad quarterback? No. But because people OD with the praise for him, because people OD with the praise for Josh Allen, it's forced me to be on the other side, pulling back, going, nah, fam, that's not how it's going to work. You can't just forget about this, and this just because of that. Right? And that's where I find myself with Caitlin Clark at. And you can see it on social media. You can see when people are trying to like slant one side or another, right? For instance, people, instead of putting up the stats from the entire season to figure out who's the best, people who slant more towards Caitlin Clark will only put up her numbers versus the Sky and Angel Reese's numbers versus Indiana. You want to know why? Because in Caitlin Clark's case, the Sky games have been her best games. But when you put up the overall stats, Angel Reese has had a better season than Caitlin Clark. She just has. She just has. Angel Reese is averaging a double-double, right? Caitlin Clark has been really impressive versus the Sky, 17-7-3. 17-7-9, right? But you can tell when people are hating, because why would you post her splits, 49, 40, and 90? Why would you post that? That's not an equivalent because Angel Reese doesn't shoot threes. So why would you even post that? That's not an equivalent. And why aren't turnovers posted? Now, anytime somebody wants to like down Caitlin Clark, they bring those turnovers in mad quick. And right, they should, but it should be in there all the time because we should be looking at this in its totality. Let's do a tell of the tape, right? Number one, fly. Angel Reese is infinitely flyer than Caitlin Clark. Sorry, just is what it is. She dresses better. She's got better swagger. She's got better communication. Everything Caitlin Clark's trying to do is trying to be cookie cutter, is trying to be buttoned up, is trying to be like correct. Angel Reese is just being her. And that resonates, right? Let's get into scoring, right? Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, they're averaging similar numbers. Rebounds is not even close. Angel Reese is one of the best rebounders in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, not. When it comes to assists, Caitlin Clark gets more assists than Angel Reese, but not that many. Not when you're talking about the full season. Now, is Caitlin Clark a better shooter than Angel Reese? Infinitely better. In fact, Angel Reese needs to get better offensively overall. But she's good enough that she could still drop 25 on you at any point. Right? Like, that's the part. That's the part. Angel Reese can do Angel Reese versus everybody, and Caitlin Clark can only do Caitlin Clark versus certain teams. Anybody notice that the Sky got better the more aggressive Angel Reese is, and Indiana's worse the more aggressive Caitlin Clark is? Indiana's recent success has come because Angel Reese because Caitlin Clark has figured out how to pass the ball again. And who's she passing to? Who's all of a sudden having a better time? Aaliyah Boston. This is a legitimate competition. And I love it. But right now, if you told me to pick the WNBA Rookie of the Year, it's Angel Reese, and it's kind of not close. Now, again, I'm telling you, I'm slanted, right? But if I'm trying to look at this objectively, you don't win Rookie of the Year because you fill up stadiums. And anybody who says, "Oh, y'all should just give her the Rookie of the Year because she's filling up arenas," y'all are lames. Y'all are lames. The same lames that said that they should be protecting her, they should be letting her score, they should be trying to. Are y'all corny? Nobody does that in real sports. Nobody just gets out of your way and lets you do whatever. Right? Like that's the only thing. I'm not here to tell people to not cheer for Caitlin Clark. Cause man, she be balling, but y'all turn everything into everybody else's fault. I saw a pass. She threw a pass, right? And when she threw the pass, she thought she was leading the player. When in reality, the player was spotting up at the three-point line. So the ball bounces, the player hesitates, then tries to go and gets it, and it goes out of bounds, right? So everybody's killing the player. But I've done that. Everybody in basketball has made the mistake of thinking that somebody was cutting when they weren't. Everybody in basketball has made the mistake of throwing the ball to somebody who thought they were popping when they were cutting. That's still on the passer. It's not on the person receiving the ball. Man, people out there killing her. Killing the poor girl. As if she never played basketball before Caitlin Clark got there. As if she's never done it. I get the whole point that Indiana's not good. Right? I get that whole point that Indiana's not good. So because they're not winning, the thought process is that everybody is bad. But that's not true. The truth is that the WNBA is so good, somebody has to lose. And the losing margins are thin. Washington is not a bad ball club. They've lost a lot of basketball games. Indiana's not a bad ball club. You see them put together a run of some games before they lost. But the margins are thin. And when you're not right on it, when you're not right there, right? When you're not right there, then that's not going to matter. So yeah, this is the excitement, right? Because I don't care what y'all say. There's no excitement in the actual who's going to win a championship right now. In the realm of who's going to win a championship right now, why would I say anybody else but the Aces is going to win? They've been doing them. They had some rough starts. Yeah, because the point guard was out. The moment she gets back and they're back to full strength and they can actually have their full team out there, who's beating them in the series? They got the most dominant women's basketball player maybe ever. They might have the most dominant women's basketball player ever in her prime and highly motivated. Because last year, y'all gave an MVP trophy to somebody that didn't deserve it over her. So this year, she's coming for everything. Yeah, Asia Wilson wants it all. And yeah, New York doesn't want to give it to her. So that's what we're dealing with. Those are the two teams. Everybody else is second place or after them. So I can't get excited about that. I can get excited about watching them play, right? And just watching and enjoying the games. But I can really dig into this rivalry because this is what makes sports great. When you got two players, because now after the game that they had, we got to wait all the way. We got to wait all this time for them to get together again. We got to wait all the way to the end of August 30th to get together again. Right? Hey, you want to see something funny? Caitlin Clark has 50 total rebounds and assists versus the Chicago Sky. Angel Reese has 49 total rebounds and assists versus the Fever. Y'all tell, right? Now, Caitlin Clark's got 22 rebounds, 28 assists. Angel Reese has 42 rebounds, 7 assists. But the stats still work together. Clark a little bit ahead in the points, 51-44. This is a rivalry. And it doesn't have to be an ugly rivalry where we say one person sucks or this person's good or that person's. We don't have to do that. We can just say we all win. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. But there's one place where there's no rivalry at. And that's who looks better. Angel Reese is infinitely better looking than Caitlin Clark. And I'm not trying to diss Caitlin Clark. Infinitely better looking than Caitlin Clark. Has more swag than you know what? I was talking about it with someone who said, we were saying that, I'd like to see Caitlin Clark. I like to hang out with Caitlin Clark after she's had a couple shots of Casamigos or something like. Maybe like there's something that loosens her up and we get the real version, right? Or the unfiltered version, the uncola version, right? But if you gave them the same couple drinks of Casamigos to Angel Reese, I think you get the same Angel Reese. She gonna say something that you're not gonna like, and then she gonna say some stuff and you're gonna be like, yo, that's fly. Man, listen. Seems very similar to Magic Larry Bird to me. Magic with the infectious smile, the good looks, the ladies' man, all of that versus the I just want to work hit on what do they call it? The hit from French Lick, the ho hum, ride my trailer, go out here, bust your butt in basketball, then go home. Hey, that's what I'm here for. Right? If that's who she wants, if that's who Caitlin Clark wants to be that. You ain't got to struggle in them hills when they be having you out there in them hills. You ain't got to struggle. You like you're struggling. Put some sneakers on. Put some flats on. Right? But if you're going to do it, embrace it. If you're going to do it, really lean into it. Glam up. But if you don't want to glam up, don't glam up. Like, they can be out there, like, let somebody else out there tell me that you're better looking than Angel Reese. It's cool. Different strokes for different folks. Let somebody else tell me that they like you better. Right? Different stroke for different folks. But what I'm not going to do is have guys like David Portnoy out here acting as if Angel Reese is the Antichrist because she says what's on her mind, because she speaks it true. If anybody should respect Angel Reese, it's David Portnoy. He says some crazy outlandish stuff out his mouth. He acts like a petulant child sometimes. And yet, he's been able to amass wealth that allows him to behave in a manner that's unsavory. That affords him a voice that he may not legitimately have earned. Angel Reese has earned everything that she does and everything that she says. So I don't understand why every time I turn around, a Portnoy is kicking her back in. I'll never understand that. Hey, shout out to JJ Redick, who was introduced as the new Lakers head coach. There was a lot of discussion about cronyism, right? Cronyism, nepotism, and how certain people get the nod before others do. We watched as Monty Williams was fired after one season. I heard, I read a Detroit Pistons fan say that it was criminal, his lack of, strategy or whatever. I find that hilarious that in basketball, people who don't play basketball, people who've never been at a basketball level, who don't understand basketball to that can point out the strategic inadequacies of a coach when they don't actually know what it is they're looking at. But cool. I can't look out there and automatically go, that's what they were trying to do. I have an idea because I study the game, right? Because I study the game as a coach. I study the game as an evaluator. I have an idea, but I don't know exactly. So for people who I know ain't out there studying, to just be like, oh yeah, he was bad. People using Joe Mazzulla as an example of why Monty Williams needed to be fired is laughable. Joe Mazzulla has been handed a championship caliber team. Monty Williams was handed a dumpster fire with a bunch of kids. A bunch of kids who all have holes in their game and who all have enough money to not really give a damn if they have holes in their game. Monty Williams was fired from a job a year after going to the NBA Finals. Why? Because the center that the team ended up eventually trading anyway the next year didn't like him. And why didn't he like him? Because Monty Williams thought he was soft. Never said it publicly, but thought he was soft. And now JJ Redick gets a job as a head coach of a premier basketball team, of a premier professional team, without ever having coached in his entire life, without ever even being in an NBA franchise in some type of coaching and or administrative capacity. JJ Redick started a podcast and he sounds like he sounds, and he makes Stephen A look dumb when Stephen A tries to say stuff, and automatically he's a head coach. It was like when Steve Kerr got the GM job with the Suns with zero GM experience. Then left it because he wasn't that successful. Went back into broadcasting and walked into a job that was ready made to win. You never see this happen. Where is the ready made to win opportunities for guys like Monty Williams? Right? Do we count Joe Mazzulla? Or do we acknowledge that the only reason that Joe Mazzulla walked into a ready-made opportunity was because at the last minute they had to fire a coach? So I look at these things that him getting the job is right. I can just say that he's probably the best wrong. Right? He's the best wrong. Because if the idea is to hire somebody that's going to keep LeBron James in LA, then you got to do it. You gotta squeeze that lemon for it, or you gotta squeeze the fruit for all of the juice. You can't leave any juice left for squeezing. You gotta squeeze it all out. So if that is what gets you the services of LeBron James for the next however many years he has left, then so be it. You make that sacrifice. Is it right? No. Should it be that way? No. Does he deserve a head coaching job? No. Not at all. But most anything in this life isn't really based off what you deserve. This life has proven over and over and over again, it is not the meritocracy that it would have you believe it is. So now it's on us to make the best of it. If you are a Lakers fan, you gotta hope that he's going out and getting the best assistant coaches that he can, which you know he will. And you better hope that LeBron turns into a better coach than what he's been in the past. That's it. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got with it. Hey, shout out to the Yankees who keep on playing with my heart, winning the game, then losing games, then winning the game, then losing games. Notice I said losing games and put an S on it. Winning the game and then getting hurt and then losing games and then looking like suspect. Yo, the Yankees know how to tug on the heart. They know how to have you doing this in a season. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And shout out to the U.S. men's national team. I said it last night when it was done. I thought the first half was good. They struck when they could, but that game should have been a 5 to 6 to 0 game. And that's the problem with the U.S. men's national team. They just don't know how to step on your throat. They don't know how to finish consistently. And because they don't, it makes them susceptible to get beat by anybody. Like the United States, they are one of those teams that could legitimately beat anybody or get beaten by anybody. It's rare, right? Like Brazil, they can't get beat by anybody. They can get beat by some people, but not by anybody. Right? Germany, they can get beat by some people. They're not going to get beat by anybody. The United States, they can get beat by anybody, anyone. Doesn't matter how long you've been playing soccer for. Azerbaijan, you could beat the United States. If they're off and they're not finishing and you happen to catch a counterattack and you can get a 1-0 over on the United States. They have that for themselves. They do it all the time. We'll see what happens with the rest of this cup going on. But I'll be watching. And I might even try to get to a game if I can get to one that's closest. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Till next time. Peace.